Okay, it is 10:25:11, and the time is 8:40 on a Tuesday, and we are currently in Wagner Hall. And I'm now going to ask my subject some structured interview questions. Okay, sounds intense. How has the academy changed since you've last been here?
Well, since I've last been here, this is my first year, so I just started in July. But what has changed would probably be my relationships with my coworkers and the students, and the student to student relationships, just how I've seen people that have known each other in the past and people that haven't known each other in the past come together and just kind of create this academy unity. I've definitely seen the bonds get stronger since I've been here since July.
Um, how's the academy different from your high school that you originally went to?
I went to a high school that had 4,000 students in Carmel, so it's a lot different. And I never heard of the academy actually until I applied for my job here at the beginning of the summer. So it was a very new experience and a new environment for me to be in. In my high school, like I said, it had a lot of students, and there wasn't as much of a camaraderie, I would say, between students. There was in athletics, but not just as like a general census. The relationships definitely weren't as close as they are here. And I know a big part of that is because you do all live together and it's a residential high school here. And we just spent 8 hours together at school and then went home and, just had our separate groups of friends. But I think this kind of environment really brings everybody together and allows you to form those relationships with maybe people out of your typical social circles that you wouldn't talk to, at a regular high school. It kind of gives you that opportunity to make friends outside of the typical friend group that you've had in the past.
Are there any aspects of the academy you would have liked to have seen in your own high school?
Aspects that I would like to see in my own high school, maybe some of the programming that we do. I know they have a lot more dances here than we did at my high school, and it would have been more fun. I think there's a lot more student involvement here and a lot more clubs that actually interest students and that they go to and attend. And I know at my high school the clubs weren't very prominent, and it was, like I said, it was just like kind of friends groups that came. If your friend was in charge of a club, you would just go in and support them. But I think kids here really care about more issues and more issues that relate to maybe the world today. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like they care a lot more about their education, and I wish sometimes, in the classrooms at my high school, people would have had, that same mindset, because it was kind of distracting the kids, that didn't want to be there. The kids are here because they want to be here, you know what I mean? They're not some may be forced to be here, but for the most part, these kids want to be here to get this education. And I feel like in a public high school, there's just a lot more distractions of people that don't want to be there and don't really care about their education. So it's more prestigious, I guess, here, and I wish maybe we would have had that.
How do you think your career or college experience would have differed had you gone to an academy?
If I would have gone to an academy, well, I would have had to be smarter to have gone to an academy because I never heard of it before. But I think it would have opened up my choices come time when I applied for college, because I only applied to one school, and that was Purdue. We had a couple of college fairs at my high school, but like I said, there was so many of us, it was kind of hard to get in there and, talk to them and actually, let them see who you are, besides on your transcript, because that's all they know you for. But the academy brings in so many universities and colleges for you to, have that direct contact with. And sometimes, there's only a small group of people, because the seniors, only have about 150. So when you go, it's a good likelihood that you'll get to have that one-on-one conversation, and they can meet you face to face. Some of the college reps, and we didn't have that attention, maybe more so, or I just feel like my opportunities for college would have been more expansive had I gone to the academy.
Are there any aspects of the students here that you think in general are different from a normal high school?
I think that the students here are much more mature than maybe students at other high schools that I've come into contact with. I worked at a summer camp, so just, meeting other high school students. Once I've gotten older, once I'm in college, meeting high school students, and how they are. I just think they're much more mature here, and they have, their heads on straight, and they know what they want to do with their lives, and they're just more driven, I would say, in general, more motivated.
Okay. Let's see. Are there any general, how is the work aspect different than a normal work environment?
I applied actually to work at a PR company in Indianapolis, and I job shadowed for them. Mm-hmm. And, it's a very 8 to 5 job, and, you leave your work at work, and then you go home, and, you don't think about work when you're home because you're so exhausted from it. Like I said, it's one of those normal business world, 8 to 5 jobs. But here, I feel like I have more of an impact on the people that I'm working with and the students, that I'm mentoring and that I'm here for, than just, going out there and making money. I feel like those corporate jobs are just to make money, but I feel like this job just has more to offer in the sense of the people that you come into contact with and the relationships that you build. And most jobs don't go from 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. So, but I've really enjoyed my time here, and I think it was a good decision for me to go this path rather than the corporate world. I don't think I was ready for that once I graduated yet. So I think this is a good transition if I go to grad school then in the next couple of years.
So what was your major in college?
I was a public relations and advertising major, and now I'm kind of realizing that I probably won't go that path because I'm going to go to graduate school for higher education administration and student affairs to work with student organizations on a college campus. So,
and how do you think that this job will help you with your career in the future?
Having a career in higher education, you work solely with students at universities. And this is just, I feel like a stepping stone towards that. They're not exactly college-age students, but high school juniors and seniors are very close to, the same age range as, beginning years of college. So I think just this relationship year-round, because like I said, I worked at a summer camp with high school students, but this is a more structured environment working with students than the summer camp was. So I think this will definitely give me, a good jump start and be a good stepping stone to kind of realizing what it's going to be like to work in a student affairs job.
And from what you have heard from the students, or if anything, how are the classes differ than a normal high school?
They seem a lot harder here than they were at my high school. I mean, just because I think they're more advanced, because they are gifted students here. And I feel like there's more teacher-student interaction just because their offices are here right in the building where you guys are living rather than, at a public high school having to seek them out after school or before school. You can go during the day, and your class schedule in general is different because you aren't, in one single building from, 8 to 4 every day. You have classes kind of sporadically throughout the day, kind of built like a college level schedule. So I think that's how the class is different.
Having been to college and seen what it was like, do you think that this sufficiently prepares students to bridge the gap from high school to college?
I don't know if there's anything ever that you can tell or an environment that you can be in that, is going to make you 100% prepared for college. But I think this is one of the best ways to prepare for it, just living in this environment, because that's how it's going to be once you get there. You're going to have to be living with people and learn how to live with people that you won't necessarily get along with, and being away from home and having, everything's on yourself once you go to college and in this kind of environment at the academy, because you have to be disciplined enough to know when, you can hang out with your friends and when to, you need to stay in your room and study. Whereas at home, your parents maybe wouldn't let you go out as much if you had a big test, or, you would just stay home and study. So I think out of all of the options that there are for college prep, this is, the best way. It's hands-on learning and it's interactive. So it prepares you better than any, I don't know, lecture or somebody, talking to kids about college life.
Yeah.
It's going to be the best way to prepare you.
Were there any problems when you first went to college that you think could have been helped by coming to a place like this?
I would say roommate mediation situations, learning how to live with somebody else in such close quarters, because my sister and I, we didn't share a room ever throughout my whole life, and she was gone at college for my last 3 years of high school, so it was really just me and my room, and you have your own bathroom and your own room, but it's really just adjusting. Learning how to share, I think, is one of the biggest things that you learn when you go to college, and just learning how to mediate situations and approach situations without being rude, but still getting the confrontation averted in some way, coming to an agreement. I think healthy eating choices is a big thing in college, because once you get to college, the dining courts at Purdue were like all you can eat. So you really have to learn how to be disciplined, in more way than one, not just in eating habits, but I think a lot of college kids struggle with that, but in homework too, because your friends, there's always going to be somebody that wants to hang out with you and that's going to peer pressure you, to go with them. So you just have to be disciplined in your studies.
What is the oddest / most eccentric thing you've seen since you've been here?
Oddest or most eccentric thing? I loved Spirit Week. I loved seeing how creative everybody got for the Spirit Week days. I'm one of the PA advisors, so when we were coming up with the ideas, we had some crazy out there ideas, and I think that's what just makes these kids so great, because even like the point system that we had, it was the most like I don't even know how to explain it. It was so complicated, do you know what I mean, that only like academy students could have thought of it. But that's why I love it here, because kids are just, they think so out of the box, and I just think they're so creative in many ways. I don't know what would be the most odd or eccentric thing that I've seen, but I love when kids get creative with like what they wear and just being individualistic on a daily basis and not being afraid to show who they are. So
awesome. Okay. This concludes our interview at 8:53.